On a humid afternoon in the eastern Caribbean Sea, September 29, 2025, what began as a standard U.S. Coast Guard patrol transformed into an hour-long maritime chess match. The cutter United States Coast Guard cutter Hamilton, deployed to hunt drug traffickers, suddenly found itself facing off against a silent Venezuelan warship. What followed revealed just how thin the line can be between law enforcement and international confrontation. An unsettling contact on radar. At 3:47 p.m. local time, the Hamilton's bridge was steady and routine until the radar screen flared with a new contact. The return was sharp and fast, unmistakably steel rather than fiberglass. Its course was deliberate, bearing 208 degrees at 27 nautical miles, and its speed climbed beyond 20 knots. In the Combat Information Center, watchstanders confirmed that the vessel was not transmitting an AIS identification signal, nor was it responding to any radio hails. Diesel turbines roared harder with every sweep of the radar. The shape soon became clear. A Guayquerí-class Venezuelan patrol ship with a forward-mounted 76mm gun. This was no fishing boat and no innocent commercial craft. The initial closest point of approach was calculated at under 10 miles in closing. It was immediately apparent to the crew that this contact was not drifting through the area. It was moving with purpose and speed, cutting straight toward the Hamilton's patrol lane. A smuggler and an unexpected interloper. The Hamilton already had its mission in sight. A low, fast skiff with oversized fuel tanks. The unmistakable profile of a Caribbean drug runner. The plan was simple. Intercept and board before it reached open shipping lanes. But then the Venezuelan patrol ship changed course. Instead of passing harmlessly or shadowing at a distance, it slid directly between the Hamilton and the smuggler, clearly trying to block the approach. The bridge crew reacted fast. Standard hails went out in English and Spanish. Unidentified Venezuelan naval vessel, this is United States Coast Guard cutter Hamilton operating in international waters. Alter course immediately. Silence followed. No lights, no flags, no radio reply, just the steel warship accelerating, positioning itself squarely between the Coast Guard and its target. Staying within the rules of engagement. For the Coast Guard, the response to such provocations is tightly scripted. Unlike the U.S. Navy, the service occupies a unique legal position. Under Title 10 of U.S. law, it is a branch of the armed forces, while under Title 14, it functions as a federal law enforcement agency. That means a cutter like the Hamilton can seize narcotics, arrest smugglers, and build criminal cases while also sailing alongside destroyers if necessary. But its commanders must be careful not to escalate a law enforcement action into an armed conflict. The Hamilton's captain followed the established playbook. The crew would warn, show presence, record every maneuver, and, if safe, continue their interdiction mission. Ramming or provoking the Venezuelan ship was not an option. Yet neither was surrendering the mission. Taking to the air. Orders rippled through the Hamilton as the orange MH-65 Dolphin lifted off, spraying seawater and streaming infrared images back to the bridge. Below, the boarding team loaded into a rigid hull inflatable boat, helmets on and weapons ready. From above, the Dolphin confirmed the target, a go-fast boat with 4 people aboard and extra fuel tanks. But every approach was blocked by the shadowing Venezuelan cutter. In the Combat Information Center came word that the foreign ship was deliberately maneuvering to block the RHIB, its distance shrinking to 4 miles. The Hamilton slowed to buy time but refused to yield, turning a drug chase into a tent standoff at sea. The smuggler makes a desperate run. The stalemate ended when the traffickers bolted. Their skiff surged east toward busy shipping lanes, bouncing hard across the swells. The Dolphin helicopter reacted instantly, banking low and dropping a bright warning flare across the bow. A clear signal to stop without using force. The smugglers hesitated, engines sputtering as the light cut their escape. The Hamilton's RHIB charged in at 40 knots. The boarding team, weapons low but ready, hailed the boat in English and Spanish. This time the smugglers complied, throttling back and raising their hands. Within minutes, Coast Guardsmen boarded, found more than a ton of cocaine and fentanyl precursors, and secured the crew. The bust was by the book, but the larger standoff was still unresolved. A silent shadow holds its ground. Just a few miles off Hamilton's beam, The Venezuelan cutter stayed silent and dark, neither closing the gap nor pulling away. It ignored hails, showed no lights, and for 40 tense minutes simply held its position. A clear reminder this was about more than drugs. It was about sovereignty and power. Only after the Coast Guard secured evidence and the boarding team prepared to return did the tension break. The Venezuelan ship slowly turned starboard, widening the distance to 5, 6, then 9 miles. Relief swept the bridge, though no one fully relaxed. Then the radio crackled for the first time. A calm male voice with a heavy Spanish accent said, "United States vessel, we are on sovereign patrol duty." "We observe only," Hamilton's captain replied evenly, noting the unsafe maneuvers and that everything had been recorded. There was no answer. The gray warship finally turned away and faded into the horizon, a climate of rising tension. This standoff didn't happen in isolation. Just weeks earlier, U.S. Southern Command admitted to a rare and provocative move. 2 Venezuelan smuggling boats were kinetically neutralized in international waters after ignoring Coast Guard warnings. The strikes, though legal and backed by Navy surveillance, set off a political storm. Caracas accused Washington of piracy and vowed to defend its sovereignty at sea. Almost overnight, Venezuelan patrols became bolder, pushing farther from home waters and shadowing U.S. ships in ways clearly meant to disrupt drug interdictions. The Hamilton sailed straight into this tense new reality, where chasing traffickers also meant navigating an assertive Venezuelan presence determined to test U.S. resolve. The Coast Guard's unique balancing act. The U.S. Coast Guard's dual identity makes it both powerful and vulnerable. As a military service, it can sail with warships, but as a law enforcement agency, it must stay restrained and build court-ready cases. This flexibility lets it strike drug networks with a lighter footprint than the Navy. Yet it also puts cutters in situations where a simple bust can become an international incident. For Venezuela, sending Guaycari-class cutters to shadow U.S. patrols isn't about fighting, but about pressure. Slowing interdictions, complicating missions, and signaling that it intends to contest these waters. For the Coast Guard, the mission stays the same. Keep drugs off U.S. streets, patrol steadily, and avoid being drawn into conflict. Lessons from a close call. The events of September 29th offer sobering lessons. Drug traffickers thrive in the gray zones of international waters, exploiting legal caution and geopolitical rivalries. Foreign navies can interfere not by firing shots, but by positioning themselves in ways that threaten collision or escalation. And for U.S. forces, rigid adherence to rules of engagement and calm leadership can prevent a dangerous situation from spiraling into a shooting incident. The Hamilton's crew documented every bearing change, every ignored hail, and every maneuver. Those records serve not only as courtroom evidence, but also as diplomatic protection, proving that the United States acted lawfully even under provocation. The debate over next steps. In Washington, the Hamilton incident feeds an ongoing debate. Some argue the United States should expand Coast Guard patrols in the Caribbean. More cutters, more aircraft, and a clear refusal to be intimidated, they say, will keep drug smugglers under pressure and reassure regional partners. Others warn that escalation could lead to disaster. A single collision or misunderstood warning could spark a conflict no one wants. They advocate a quieter approach, maintaining patrols but relying on intelligence sharing, diplomacy, and rapid Navy backup if a situation turns dangerous. Both perspectives carry weight. A stronger presence could deter traffickers and discourage foreign interference, but it also risks feeding the cycle of tension that has already made routine drug busts feel like Cold War-era stare-downs. Sailing the thin blue line. For the Hamilton's crew, a routine drug bust turned into a geopolitical test. By staying calm and following the law, they seized over a ton of narcotics while avoiding an international crisis. Their experience shows how, in the Caribbean, every mile is contested not just by smugglers, but by nations asserting influence. The Coast Guard's strength lies in being both cop and soldier, but that also forces its cutters into delicate encounters where diplomacy must move as fast as the ships themselves. As policymakers debate expanding patrols or holding steady, crews at sea will keep walking that thin line, stopping traffickers while working to keep a bust from becoming a naval clash. And that's the full story of how a routine drug bust nearly turned into an international naval standoff. If you found this breakdown as gripping as we did, make sure to hit that like and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you out on the water in the next one.